Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer from Lipstick Generation.
And I'm Steve. I'm the bassist from Lipstick Generation.
And welcome to the Lipstick Panel. Today on the Lipstick Panel, we have finally reached the end of the KISS catalog. That means Steve doesn't have to listen to any more KISS for this podcast.
Hallelujah.
Except he does.
Hell?
Because we're going to do Wicked Lester and some other stuff too, because the fans demand it, because those download numbers are so much better than our Smashing Pumpkins episodes.
Man,
Sorry, Steve.
Pumpkins fans, where are you at?
I don't know. Why don't you post on the Reddit sometime, buddy?
I posted a lot more than I posted the KISS episodes.
Yeah, but those fans stuck around. KISS fans are obsessed. Speaking of obsessed KISS fans, hey, we've got some panelists who are obsessed with KISS. Mike Walsh, welcome back to the show. Crazy, crazy Mike.
What's up? I apologize for nothing.
And we've got the buffest podcaster this side of Joe Rogan, Jamie Donnelly, coming back on the show. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you for having me back.
And the man with the hottest of takes on the internet other than myself, Mr. Billy Business. Welcome back to the show, Billy.
Oh, thanks for having me back, man.
And I'm excited because this time my voice is actually working, so I can fully argue with you, as opposed to the last time where I had the Paul Stanley syndrome and could barely speak.
You lip-synced really well, though, Greg.
I am a master lip syncer. No one can lip sync Love Gun as well as I do, except for Paul Stanley.
I couldn't even tell that your hot takes were pre-recorded.
I mean, I think we've talked about just making a Greg soundboard of just things I say every episode. Frozen sure is a great movie. Thin Lizzy is awesome. I sure do like the Beatles. KISS lyrics
White
aren't
Album.
that great. All right, there we go. We've gone to the Greg soundboard.
Kiss is bad. Chair noise.
Chair noise. We don't have drops today because we're remote because COVID-19. Stay safe out there. We record our episodes months in advance. I know COVID-19 is still going to be a thing by the time this episode comes out. They're talking about reopening the economy. Anyway, more positive things. We're talking about KISS, Monster. Typically, we go around the panel and talk about our history with the band and the album. You know what, Billy? It's been a while since you've been on the show. I want to get your thoughts on Monster and sort of where it sits in the catalog for you, because you came into the band like myself with the Tommy and Eric lineup. So, general thoughts on Monster?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, Sonic Boom was, like, the greatest thing to ever happen, because when I got into KISS, it was 2004, so I didn't think they were going to have another album. The last one they had was Psycho Circus, so Sonic Boom was, like, top of the top, and I was like, you know what, if we end here, that's cool, I really like this album a lot. Then Monster came along, and I was like, all right, that's cool. I think we're ending kind of on an even number, depending on whose timeline you go off of and what counts as an album. And it came out the week of my niece's birth, and that was the first grandchild for my parents. So I remember driving down to the hospital, and it was like the first time I was listening to this. So I was slightly distracted, but I was like, this isn't quite gelling like Sonic Boom, but also like my emotions and my mind are just thinking about a lot of other things. And this, I would say this one is my least revisited KISS album. And I think it's kind of like Men in Black 2. Monster's like Men in Black 2, because it's like, it's not bad. It's just like the made for TV version of the first one that you really liked. Like, Monster's not bad. It's just Sonic Boom Part 2. It's like all the shit that got cut from Sonic Boom. They're like, oh, Sonic Boom is really good. Let's make our Sonic Boom checklist. And literally every trope from Sonic Boom is just ported over in a slightly different wrapper on this one. So I don't love it. I don't hate it. There's just a lot of like, all right, well, that was a thing, which is a bummer for like the last KISS album.
I feel like Tommy the Spaceman, for reals, you guys there, would resent some of those comments.
I think, well, we'll get into it, but I think Tommy is like the only songs that I actually like think are consistently like pretty good. I would like more Tommy.
You know what? As someone else who probably loves Tommy Thayer and loves some hair metal, let's have Jamie go next. And general thoughts on Monster.
Yeah, guilty. Really like Tommy Thayer, and I really like hair metal. I remember Monster coming out, because kind of like the rest of yous, I was really, apart from Crazy Crazy Mike actually, I was really late to kind of the Kiss camp, so have only really known the lineup that we currently have. And I remember Sonic Boom coming out and thinking it was great, and going to see Kiss on that tour. And then I remember hoping that there'd be another album, because they'd said for years that there wouldn't be Sonic Boom, and then we had Sonic Boom. So obviously I wanted more. And I seem to remember the album got delayed about 1,000 times. I remember the first single coming out and then nothing happening for months. And then the album coming out, and I think at the time I probably loved it to death. And I bought it on vinyl as soon as it came out, which was strange because I wasn't collecting at the time, but I remember seeing it in our local kind of big record shop that sold CDs and thought, oh, that's unusual. And it was about the same price as the CD, so I got it and thought it was fine. Yeah, it sounds kind of pastiche Kiss, which is what Sonic Boom sounded like, I suppose, but it sounds a little bit more pastiche than Sonic Boom, and a little bit more like Gene had a little bit more to do with it, or perhaps Paul just had less to do with it. I don't know.
Kiss by Numbers 2, The Reckoning.
Yeah, another one of those Kiss albums where they went, this sounds like Destroyer and Revenge, and it sounded like neither.
Fair enough. Mike Walsh, do you think this album sounds like Destroyer or Revenge?
Not particularly, no.
General thoughts on Monster and your history for first-time listeners who decide Monster's the first episode I'm going to check out.
First-time Kisters.
For people who've heard me say it over and over, it's kind of the same old. But if anyone doesn't remember, got into Kiss in the 90s, kind of during the reunion era. Wasn't fully aware it was going on until a little bit afterward. So Psycho Circus was my first new Kiss album. I liked it at the time, but even at the time, it was not anywhere near one of my favorite Kiss albums. Then we went through the whole many years of no new Kiss music. I mean, there was the farewell tour, but then that didn't last very long. So then 11 years went by, and it's like, I want new Kiss music, and it just kind of looked like it was never going to happen. And then we got Sonic Boom, which I loved, and I liked it way more than Psycho Circus, so I was super excited, and I pretty much felt like that would probably be it at that point. So I was like, cool, I got a new Kiss album that I could really enjoy, could really appreciate it, whereas when Psycho Circus came out, I was young and a new fan, and I didn't realize like how special it is to get a new album from your favorite band. So Sonic Boom was great, and then compared to the 11-year gap, about 2 years went by, and they're like, yeah, we're actually doing another new album. And I was like, this is awesome. So I was super excited to get another new Kiss album. And then whereas I had mentioned that, the first single, Modern Day Delilah from Sonic Boom, was good, but it wasn't really what I was expecting. When I heard Hell or Hallelujah, like, it's exactly what I wanted from a new Kiss album, and I knew I was just going to love the album a lot. And actually, I really have to disagree with Billy. I feel like one of the reasons I like Monster more than Sonic Boom is I think it's less just copy and paste Kiss elements. I mean, I get how there's some of that, but I feel like they were actually willing to venture a little bit further on Monster than they were on Sonic Boom. So like as much as I love Sonic Boom, in hindsight, I kind of look at it as like shaking off the rust in some ways, and then just even more so going for it on Monster. So yeah, I'm a big Monster fan. It's like 99.9% sure I'm the biggest fan of it on this panel, and I love it.
And Steve, how about you? What is your history with Kiss, and general thoughts on Monster, the last Kiss album? You've listened to all the studio albums. You did it.
I just realized their End of the Road tour got interrupted. They're not gonna be just like, well, I guess that's it. They're gonna come back. They're gonna do more stuff. We're probably getting another like final Kiss album that the end of the road tour will be in support of. So hopefully in the year and a half or so it takes for that to come out, I will have braced myself mentally for another Kiss episode. So anyway, I first heard Monster back in like early to mid 2012 when I joined Greg's band and played a bunch of songs that sounded exactly like Monster. And then I listened to the album today and said, wait, why did Paul Stanley, when was this recorded? Wait, late 2012? Why did Paul Stanley steal all these songs from Greg? What the heck? And now I'm here talking about it several hours later.
Hey, look, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Paul, thanks for stealing my music. It means a lot. Just send the check in the mail if the post office is still a thing. Yeah, so my general thoughts on Monster are not as gushing about it as Mike Walsh or Take Me Down Below is, but still, generally favorable, and I sort of agree with his assessment as... I came into KISS 2004 Rock the Nation tour, and so the Tom and Eric lineup was my first lineup, and I was super excited to hear them record music together, and Sonic Boom to me felt very, very forced, formulaic, and it felt like they were trying, like it was try hard instead of die hard. And, I want to die hard, I got try hard instead. And there was some okay stuff on there, but nothing that really wowed me, nothing that was like, yeah, this is an essential track. And then Monster, it felt, to me, less forced, less labored over, more just like they went in, had fun, and it was more authentic and sincere. And I think it also has some tracks on here that are, KISS classics with a capital K, that are essentials in the catalog. And so I think there are lower lows on this album, but much higher highs, and it feels more organic and sincere. I think the production isn't good. It has that brick wall mastering. It's, a little bit fatiguing to listen to because of the mastering, but I think it feels more natural. It feels more... It feels like they were having more fun with this one, whereas Sonic Boom felt more forced to me personally. And so I give it a thumbs up, and I'm more positive on it, but there are definitely some tracks I would cut from the album to make it a tighter listen.
Q without the E from the album.
Right. So you guys ready to get into this ranking?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, so coming in as the least best song on Monster, we've got Wall of Sound coming in at the bottom. So, Steve, this was what you were correct about. I will cede the floor to you.
Well, basically, this song started playing. I was like, okay, well, that was the worst pick scrape I've ever heard. And then it went through the first verse, and then it got into the pre-chorus, and I was like, wait, hold on. I recognize that chord progression and that melody. And then it went back into the verse, and was like, wait, this is I Want a New Drug. They took I Want a New Drug and then removed all the fun. They took the fun out of drugs.
That's pretty on brand for KISS.
That's on brand for straight edge Gene and Paul. They're like, yeah, drugs are great, but how do you make money off of it? But, yeah, so.
And now Gene is selling weed.
Honestly, like, overall, there's nothing on this album that's terrible. Like, nothing on this is, like, in the dredges of the KISS discography, really. It's just... this is the most middling and bland and derivative thing that, established arena rock band doing another comeback album in 2012. Okay. Just underwhelmed.
Yeah, I get it. It's an underwhelming, middle-of-the-road song, and I guess my biggest disappointment is it's called Wall of Sound, and it doesn't have the Phil Spector Wall of Sound production. And so it's just like, man... you could have done that, and you did that on Destroyer. I would love some, giant piano and big female backing vocals. Like, if you're going to have a song called Wall of Sound, make a Wall of Sound. And it's just like, it's just like an average Gene rock song, which, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad, but just it's fine. And it's also, the same song as another Gene song on this album. The riffing is very similar. So, it's fine. My assessment, it's fine.
To be fair, Gene's even addressed that whole Wall of Sound thing where, people are like, oh, what about that Phil Spector Wall of Sound? And he said, no, that's not what the reference was. It was more of a Walls of Jericho reference.
So then why doesn't it sound like Halloween?
I honestly don't have a comment on that. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that Halloween song.
That's got to be a rhetorical question.
Look, all I'm saying is, given 20 minutes to spare, I would rather listen to Walls of Jericho once than Wall of Sound 6 times.
That's fair. I'm not going to fight that. Jamie, do you have any thoughts on Wall of Sound?
I'm thinking a lot about Halloween at the minute.
You should be.
Yeah, as I should be.
I mean, they're a great band.
Yeah, I don't mind Wall of Sound. Like I think will be a kind of current theme from certainly three of us on this episode. There is the best song on this album, and then there are other songs, and this falls into other songs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think Gene sounds great on this album. There are some dynamic differences between the verse and chorus, which the loudness in mastering hasn't ruined. And Tommy's solo is great as always. The song doesn't end properly though. That winds me up a little bit. It's got a very messy kind of AC/DC styled ending. And there is another song on this album that's actually the song before it on the album that does that better. So I thought that was a little bit lazy, 2 songs in.
And Billy, you put in the same spot as Jamie. What's your analysis? Generally the same?
I really like this song a lot. I like the guitar riff. I said it on the other episode I was on, Psycho Circus. I'm not a music guy, so I like what I like. A lot of times I can't articulate exactly why I like what I like, but I like the guitar riff on this one. I think this album for me has, saying earlier, like there's a lot of just like generic vanilla-ness of like a manufactured song, and I think there's a ton of songs on this album that fit that to a T. And I think I think there's a lot of like manufactured songs on this album, but I think this actually is not one of them. I think this is one of the more original, unique to this album sounding songs. I also love Tommy's solo on it. I think this is Gene's best song on this album. So I personally like this one a lot. I think I ranked it pretty high. I can't remember.
Like 4th.
Yeah, it was pretty high on your ranking. I'd say for me, this feels like Russian roulette without the interesting rhythm changes, and so that's where I find it to be that song's parallel. And it's very, very similar to another song on the album, I think that just had a slightly better melody, which we'll get to actually significantly higher in the ranking, even though I think they're largely the same song. All right, well, next up on the list, we have Freak. Now, I don't say this often, but Kiss really should have tried to sound more like Radiohead on this track. Steve sends me his notes via email, and so, one of his notes he was mentioning is how the song felt, insincere for arena rock Kiss to write this, dark, moody song about being like, angsty and different. I think this is not indicative of the average Kiss fan, where, like, the average Kiss fan, that I've encountered are slightly, older, like, Gen Xers, who are into football and beer and Kiss, and so they're a little bit more conservative, and they were never the guys who wore the long hair. Like, they're guys who are into a band that wears makeup and high heels and then make fun of people for wearing makeup and high heels without any sense of irony.
So what you're saying is what Paul really should have written about is like, I don't care when I'm walking down the street and people are making fun of my beer gut and my tattered Iron Maiden t-shirt.
Right, but if you read Paul's book, which I know you didn't,
sure didn't.
But Paul,
that's great.
But yeah, it's one of the best rock autobiographies I've ever read, only topped by Peter Criss's, which is just a debauched mess. But in Paul's book, he talked about how he was an awkward kid and would try to be fashionable and wear like makeup and flashy outfits, and that was just his thing. And I think I think he was working on the book around the same time he was working on the album, so I think he was tapping into that sense of teenage self and wanted to write an anthem for those kind of people. The problem is the average Kiss fan, unfortunately, does not fit that mold, and so there's a big disconnect, and this music is a little bit too upbeat and bouncy for that message, and so I think it needed to be a little bit more of a dirge, a little bit more somber, and I think it would have really shined if it didn't have the same, like, let's make every song on the album have the exact same production. I think that hurt this one. It really needs some difference in arrangement and production to really shine. And so I think there's kernels of a good idea here, but I don't think it's well executed. And so I think it's pretty appropriately ranked, even though I put it a couple spots higher. I think this is a pretty fair spot for it.
Well, hold up, Greg. So your description here of him working on his autobiography and writing a song about how awkward he was as a teenager, that just makes me think that this might be the perfect song for your average Kiss fan, and it's all about being 58 fucking years old and lamenting high school still.
Thank you, audience, for listening. Please like and subscribe.
Sorry, I got fired today. I'm in a bad mood.
So this is great. You're feeling this angst.
That's exactly it. Just channeling angsty teenage 58-year-old Paul Stanley.
You got fired, my hours got cut, and they're forcing me back into the office anyway. So what'd you think of the song otherwise, guys?
I think this one is heavier, and I think thematically this actually would have fit really well on the Psycho Circus album. I could really see this like fitting in with the kind of like quasi concept of that. For this one, I don't know if I'm quite as harsh as you, but there's a lot of songs on this album, one we'll get to, that I just feel like at pushing 70, you're not relevant enough to talk about this anymore. And I'm not so much saying that Paul's drawing upon his youth. Maybe he was. I don't know. Maybe it's completely autobiographical, but it seemed like a rallying cry for, displaced youth. But it's almost like he's not aware or is just completely blind to the fact that Kiss is by and large not relevant to the target audience that he wrote it for. So it does feel like this really cool rallying cry for kids that was made by their grandpas. Like, yeah, but if you were in the 70s, you would have loved this song. So I feel like it was just decent song, wrong time.
Although to give a little bit of a sort of credit to Jamie and myself, because I just realized this as you were talking, when you said Kiss is not relevant to the youth, that's actually mostly correct, but Jamie knows this, and I know that Mike does too. Around 2005, and then it continued up until around the time this album came out, there was a musical movement called the New Wave of Swedish Sleaze, which was basically hair metal coming back. Mostly in Sweden, but then there were a few American bands that did that. And in high school, there were the glam kids who proudly listened to Kiss because it was contrarian and different. And, we dressed in really flashy outfits, hot pink spandex and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so this song is weirdly works with that market because there were a number of us and there was a movement. But
sure, but you're talking about 2% of the pie, by and large, this I throw Freak a little bit in the Christine 16 pile of maybe you've aged out of singing this one.
Jamie, what are your thoughts on this as a fellow glamster?
Yeah, I certainly got I got a lot of grief for being such a massive Kiss fan, but when I was at school, but I was very kind of. I think I was the only person that I knew for years and years and years that was kind of my age range that had even heard of Kiss, let alone were into them. While that was going on, I worked out what song also sounds like Wall of Sound in this ranking, so I'm looking forward to kind of getting to that part. Freak's interesting because it's probably the song on this album that gets stuck in my head kind of randomly the most. So there are certain songs that will just kind of come into my head without me having to listen to it. And then it's there for weeks, and kind of the chorus of Freak is one of those kind of very strange Kiss songs that just kind of cements itself into my head randomly every now and then. Maybe I just need some more therapy. I agree that the song is kind of disingenuous to a degree, but I always saw this as much as kind of it's right to draw parallels with Paul's book, which is a great book until it's a great book. I don't remember him kind of mentioning his ear prior to Monster, and I always took this as being a song that he wrote about that, because, you know, in his book he talks about how he would be bullied for the birth defect that he has with his ear, and I always took it as him just kind of talking about that, but yeah, a little bit disingenuous. I don't get the whole I pledge allegiance bit towards the end, but I think that's just because I'm English.
Well, that's because, yeah, you're from a slightly more sane country that doesn't make the children stand up and recite propaganda at the flag every morning.
Yeah, so I was going to make a joke there, but it would have had to have been cut out, so I won't.
Edit her out.
Edit her out, but yeah.
I mean, I feel like as long as you're not throwing around slurs, you're probably not going to get edited out.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clap. I'm going to clap so that there's a very clear sync point to edit this out. But all of that Pledge Allegiance stuff sounds very kind of Hitler Youth to me whenever I hear it. So as soon as it kind of kicks in, I'm like, I don't get it.
No, yeah, we're not editing that out. You're 100% correct.
So, Mike Walsh.
No, for the most part, and I feel like pretty much everyone has a fairly valid take on the song. I remember reading about it, like when they were working on the album or wrapping it up or whatever, and thinking, okay, that could be a cool premise, almost like a modern day
Delilah?
Flaming Youth, or yeah, Delilah, exactly. Almost like a modern, Kiss take, well, not Kiss take, but a callback to Flaming Youth or something like that. And then musically, it isn't nearly as anthemic. Although in terms of the lyrical content or whatever, yeah, I mean, it's definitely based on Paul growing up, feeling like a freak physically with the deformity, just feeling like he didn't fit in, that whole thing. And then, oh man, I had one other thing I wanted to say, and I do not remember. But yeah, I ranked it pretty low overall. I like it. I enjoy it. It's maybe not quite as what I was looking for, as much as I thought I was looking forward to it when I read the description of it. But it's good for what it is. I still have to wonder maybe if, because I feel like it could all be just Kiss fans making things up. But when you go to so many message boards and Facebook pages and everything, it starts to become reality. There was all that chatter of like a possible Kiss and Lady Gaga collaboration, and maybe she would be on a song like that or something like that. So who knows? Maybe Paul had that loose idea in his head, and then it didn't pan out or something like that, and then just went with the song anyway. Is it possible? Maybe. Or is it at least possible that Paul had that idea? I think that's definitely at least possible. So cool song for what it is, but I agree overall with the, putting it near the bottom.
I'm really bummed that Lady Gaga didn't appear on this track, because then the internet could debate what is better, the Alice Cooper Kesha collab or the Kiss Lady Gaga collab.
Right, yeah.
Or neither.
Lady Gaga's Monster or Lady Gaga's appearance on Kiss's Monster?
Yes.
Lady Gaga's Monster.
We're in the bad timeline, guys. We're in the bad timeline.
R.I.P. Harambe.
Any other comments on Freak before we move on? All right. Well, next up on the list
did it better.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Next on the list, we have Long Way Down. One of two songs I would have cut from the album because I put this second from the bottom. It is Paul showing off his Zeppelin influences, but I think there are too many parts that are not sloppy enough to really give that authentic Zeppelin feel. And I think it's a problem with a lot of modern rock recordings where it's too tight, it doesn't have enough swing to it. And I feel like when you're trying to give that sloppy Zeppelin kind of vibe to a song, it just makes it come off as really awkward. I think this one just drags on too long. I mean, it's competent, it's played well, but it's lacking that vibrancy and life to make it an essential track. But I can tell that Paul was super into it, and so it gets points for that, but it's a skip for me most times.
I actually find that really refreshing to realize that it ended up pretty low, and I kind of agree with you. again, and I think I said this on Sonic Boom, or I know I said it on some previous Kiss discussion we had, where you read so many people's opinions online on one particular website or Facebook page or something that you start to think that must just be the overall consensus, and maybe that is or maybe that isn't true. But I feel like most fans' reviews online that I've read prior to this panel really gush over Long Way Down, and they're like, oh yeah, best song on the album, best Kiss song in years because it sounds so Led Zeppelin and that's awesome. And I mean, I don't think it's a shock to any of you that I take Kiss way above Led Zeppelin. I want Kiss to sound like Kiss, and I don't need them to sound like Led Zeppelin. I own all of Led Zeppelin's albums. I can go listen to them if I want to. So while it's cool for what it is, I'm just more into the upbeat, up-tempo rock songs or songs with a little bit more of an anthem feel or whatever. And it's okay. Again, it's just kind of mid-tempo, just kind of not really all that uplifting or inspiring to me or anything. So yeah, I think I actually ended up putting it at the very bottom. I think I had it second from the bottom in my first draft of rankings, and then thought about it and was like, no, it really is, I think, my least favorite song on the album. So it is what it is.
And Jamie, you also ranked it pretty low. We'll let Steve and Billy go last so we can end on a positive note. Why is this so disappointing to you?
It's not so much that it's disappointing. I do agree with what Mike says. Like, I like Kiss to kind of sound like Kiss, and whenever Kiss do kind of sound alike songs, it always does feel a little bit like, oh, I'll just go listen to the sound alike. So, we got I Stole Your Love, and then Paul's kind of done a lot of Led Zeppelin-y sounding songs that never really sounded as good as I Stole Your Love, but all have a very similar kind of, I listen to Communication Breakdown and want that riff. And this is another one that kind of falls into that. Kind of the comments that I wrote down for it were, the song is fine, there's nothing particularly exciting about it, it doesn't feel that Kiss to me, seems like massive filler. And I think that just sums it up, really. So,
Steve, you don't like Led Zeppelin, you ranked this really high. What's wrong?
It doesn't sound like Led Zeppelin. I don't know what's wrong with you guys. I guess it's got kind of that blues rocky vibe to it, but I didn't listen to this and say, man, this sounds like they're just ripping off Led Zeppelin. It sounds like, they did a decently catchy, like, hard rock style song, and they figured out how to do a pick scrape on this one. Billy, why is everybody else wrong? And this is the third best song on the album.
I don't really get the Zeppelin thing either, but sure, that's like listening to a Will Smith song and being like, oh, he's just trying to copy NWA. It's like, all right, sure.
This is the best take.
I'm so glad that Will Smith came up in this episode, because I've been listening to his greatest hits like nonstop in the house.
No, it's definitely called His Greatest Smiths, and you know it is.
Greatest Smiths.
His greatest hits, you mean the Men in Black soundtrack?
Plus the Wild Wild West theme. Wiki Wild, Wiki Wiki Wild.
I mean, correct, yes.
I think this song has its own pace, its own groove. I like that it kind of I like that it sticks out a little bit. I've never subscribed to the theory of like Kiss is supposed to sound like XYZ, because Kiss has sounded so different over the last 500 years and 20,000 albums that I don't think you can peg one sound. You can peg a sound that you like. You could even peg the sound that they started with. But I think Kiss is more of a buffet than it is fine dining. They're pretty good at a lot of things instead of the best at one thing. So I like this song. It sounds different. It sounds cool. I think it's Tommy's best guitar solo on this album.
I think Billy graduated from the Paul Stanley School of Analogies with that one. That was pretty impressive.
I like the buffet analogy.
The buffet analogy was pretty good. And also, Billy,
Corral.
I hate to backtrack, but thanks for, you reminded me of the other thing I did want to say about Freak. And then it also applies a long way down. Like you said, it stands out a little bit. And so with a song like Freak, I think that stands out more than pretty much anything they did on Sonic Boom. And that's kind of for me, one of the examples of why I feel like they spread their wings a little bit further on Monster.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I would say this stands out. Like, if this was on Sonic Boom, for example, I think it would stand out as a very different song from the rest of them, because this isn't them trying to ape past Kiss. This is, I think this is the kind of thing where maybe, Jamie and I see it more as like guys who have riffed on Zeppelin songs, and so when you're playing the riffs and singing those melodies at the same time, you're seeing how they intertwine on a theory level, and see the similarities with Long Way Down. Where if I was just in high school and I hadn't started playing music yet, I probably wouldn't see it either. And then just Steve doesn't listen to Zeppelin, so that's why he doesn't recognize that.
They've only got 3 good songs.
We'll fight about that a different day.
So what Greg's saying is you don't know music, guys. Me and Greg know music. You don't know music.
I'm saying it's a different perspective, but that's why I like the healthy perspectives because, when you talk about, I like when you get just people with different backgrounds coming in and seeing what they hear and what they don't, because I think that's very healthy because, as evidence on our last album that, didn't sell as well and didn't get the good reviews, the hardcore, like, musicians thought, oh, that's a cool album. They did something very unique and fun, but then the non-musician fans didn't get it. And so I think it's important to find that middle ground where you can appease someone who's more of a movie person, or then find someone who is really into this particular brand of hard rock. And so I think that's why these rankings are interesting, because when you get to the top songs, you kind of see why those songs end up getting picked to be singles, because they have the mass appeal. And I think this one, it's a little bit too hit and miss for it to be one of the stronger songs on the album across a broad consensus. And I think, that's the way the panel ended up. But other panels, this probably would have ranked high, because I've seen a number of Kiss fans praise this one really, really high. But I think we can all acknowledge this is not as good as the Wild Wild West theme song. I think that's unanimous.
You know what probably really sticks about this song with me is they do a good pick scrape, and as a pop punk fan, that speaks to me.
Well, there you go. That's why it ranked so high.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard Steve talk this much about pick scrapes. The dude loves a good pick scrape.
I do. I love a good pick scrape.
Steve's favorite song of all time is Talk Dirty to Me.
I mean, it's a damn classic.
That is a great pick scrape. I think that's just like the first pick scrape I ever heard. So I was like, what is that technique? It's amazing. CC Phil is so underrated.
I say this having just finished up my own album with 2 pick scrapes, one of which sounds like garbage and one of which sounds good.
I think we can all agree the greatest pick scrape of all time is Vinnie Vincent in the Love Kills video, where he's got the Freddy Krueger glove.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So Vinnie Vincent,
I would like to nominate the entirety of From Mars to Sirius again.
Of course you would. Anyway, so next up on the list is Shout Mercy, the other song I would cut from the album. This was my last place song. Once again, it feels like Paul Stanley is having fun. I think this is him just calling back to his roots. I'm hearing a little bit of Cream in there. Just very old school, 60s heavy rock swagger done by Kiss with modern production. And so it's fine, but I think these two back to back kill the momentum of the album for me, and I think it would be a much stronger album without either of them. But I mean, he's having fun, he's enjoying it. It's not bad, but it comes to a screeching halt with these two songs back to back for me personally. And Paul's my guy, and I hate to say that, but doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Screeching Halt. I mean, I guess in terms of if they're 2 of your lower songs, then for you personally, you wouldn't be digging them being back to back. But I feel like in terms of tempo and flow on the album, you go from back to the Stone Age, and then you go into Shout Mercy. So I feel like tempo wise, you're doing pretty well. Shout Mercy for me, I definitely ranked it higher than this. It's somewhere in the middle, but it ended up getting bumped up a spot or 2 just because of how much I was really digging that bridge part. And I was like, oh, sweet, yeah, I kind of had forgotten about this, because I know the album pretty well. So when I was doing my initial ranking, I literally just pulled it up on Spotify, and I might be 10, 20 seconds into a song and was like, I think I put it about here. So I was working off of memory. But then I was like, well, no, I want to listen to it more, and because there might be little things like that I'd forgotten. And Shout Mercy has to be the biggest example of a song that benefited from me listening to the whole album again just because I was really grooving on that part, and I think it really works. I think it really adds to the song.
Yeah, Jamie, you ranked it next lowest after me, so Mike ranked it highest. You ranked it, you gave it 4 points. What's your thoughts on Shout Mercy?
Well, just to kind of take it back a little bit, I'm kind of upset that nobody mentioned Crazy Train in the Pick Scrape rankings, because that one goes on for about 20 minutes. So I'd just like to throw Crazy Train in there.
Right.
I thought Shout Mercy was largely unremarkable, and it has the heaviest vocal tuning treatment on the album on it, which, you know, we all know that Paul's voice is knackered by this point and that he sounds the way that he does, but, you know, do a couple more takes and get something that sounds a little bit more realistic than this. It does have some redeemable features, though. And I think, you know, Gene and Eric doubling the "oh yeahs" in the chorus, I think that's pretty cool. I like the way they sound. Sounds like a live record. And even though, again, it is tuned to death on the record, I do like Paul doing the kind of screams while Tommy's doing the bends in the guitar solo. I really like that. But, you know, a song that's full of some bends with a vocal going in unison and some vocals going "oh yeah" don't really make for a great song, which is why it's ranked where it is for me.
Yeah, Steve, Billy, you ranked in the same spot again. You guys are teammates on this episode.
Go
yeah,
team,
I think,
put this song right in the middle.
yeah, I think Steve went first last time. So, Billy, what's your thoughts on Shout Mercy?
It's fine. I think if you fed Sonic Boom to an AI and told it to make a new Kiss song based off of that, this is what it would pop out. And that's about all I have to say about it. It's just like, all right, yep, that's the song. Next.
Steve, you're a computer programmer. Could you program that AI?
No, but pedantically, it's because technically nobody could program that AI. AI programs itself. Sort of the idea is you give AI just a huge data set of what is considered valid input, and then it generates new results, and then you have some sort of culling mechanism to figure out which of those results are also valid and which ones aren't valid. Anyway, this one's a pretty middling song. I would have ranked it one space higher, probably, except I'm really not a big fan of those woo, woo train sounds. There's that one classic rock song that overuses those all the time that I can't, for the life of me, remember what it is and haven't been able to remember all day, but I don't...
Oh, are you talking about Take the Money and Run by Steve Miller Band?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that is exactly the song.
That's a great
The
song.
song made me think of Take the Money and Run, and I'm just like, nah. Just a big ol' nah.
In Steve's defense, and part of me is like, of course I want to defend Steve because he's my best friend.
Right.
But then the other part of me is like, well, I don't want to defend him when he's criticizing my favorite band, Kiss. But as for the song and the style of song and the attitude and everything, the woo is a little out of place. I dig it just because it's honestly the whole album, or most of it or whatever, just sounds like a band having fun to me in their later years. So that's why I'm like, I'll roll with it. It's cool for what it is. But it is kind of odd. It is kind of out of place. So I'll be fair, Steve. I'll be fair.
I mean, if Kiss is going to do woo-woos, if they're going to do woo-woos in a song, it better be about New Age spirituality. Anyway, next up on the list, we've got Last Chance. Jamie, you ranked this at the bottom. How disappointing of a song was this for you to close out this album in the non-bonus track version?
Yeah, I just thought it was a bit shite. It sounded like Paul trying to write back to the Stone Age. It had a very similar vibe. It was largely unremarkable. And why is it last place on the album when the song that comes before it is the best song on the album? Why would you put the best song on the album where it is and then go, do you know what, we need another song after it that isn't very good? Why do that? Could have ended the most perfect way, the most triumphant exit of all time for an album. But
for a
didn't.
band, that could have been the last Kiss song.
The last Kiss song ever.
And that would have been the best way for that band to go out. But
you know,
I think
unlike
that's why they put it there, is like, it has, topically, it has that, all right, this is it, we're going out on, this is the last chance, this is the last Kiss song vibe. It's
I
just
think it's
they
an
didn't-
absolute disgrace because, unlike a submarine, Last Chance does not float with me. It would sink. It's a stinker.
Wait, hold on. Submarines don't float either. Well, I mean, they kind of do.
They do. Come on.
But, like, in terms of, like, putting together a coherent metaphor, the point of submarines is that they sink.
It's 2:00 in the morning over here. Give me a break.
My thoughts on the song, it's fine. Who wants to go next?
I think I'm
Deafening
also in the
silence.
It's fine. It's fine gap. Like, I put this one above Shout Mercy. The only difference between this one and Shout Mercy is that I didn't like the woo-woos.
Billy, do you also think this is fine?
It's actually like it rips off a lot of Russian Roulette from Sonic Boom, like the and the eventually like finds its way back in here again. It just sounds like they ran out of steam and they're like, fuck it, just take something that we already did and just plug it in. It's like frog DNA in Jurassic Park. Like, no one will notice. Just plug a couple things in.
And Mike, you ranked it the highest. Is it more than just okay?
I think it is more than just okay for sure. I don't think it's an all-time masterpiece. I even kind of snuck up in the rankings for me. So maybe I ended up getting a little overzealous and put it a spot or two high. I actually think what Billy said is pretty interesting because I know I made the connection with the from Russian Roulette, but I had not made the eventually connection. So that was cool to hear. For me, I think why it did end up getting pretty high. Again, just to beat and kill a dead horse. Well, I guess you can't kill a dead horse, but to burn a dead horse. I just like up-tempo rock songs, so it's got that going for it. And then what really gave it the edge for me is I just really dig Paul's attitude on the song. I just think you get some really good Paulisms on the song. I think he really sells it. Yeah, I don't know. Good song.
Yeah, I'd say Paul does a really good job of selling an okay song. Like, I don't think it's anything to write home about. But if they were just playing it live and you were right up next to the stage, you'd be rocking out. You wouldn't be able to deny the energy of it, even if the song itself is just fine.
Well, sure. And again, I mean, I know, Greg, you and I have had arguments where you'll send me, like, this weird poem with, like, random acoustic guitar in the background, and you'll call it a song. And I'm like, well, no, that's not really a song. That's just some guy reading a poem he wrote, and some dude is, like, playing acoustic guitar in the background. What I really love about music is the vibe, is the energy. For the most part, lyrics come at or near the bottom for me. They have to be really great to be something special, and something really terrible to be, like, noticeably bad for me.
I don't remember what dude I sent you.
I'm honestly just talking about, like, half of Thin Lizzy's songs. Okay, not half, but, like, definitely that early stuff. What is going on there?
Look, I'm telling you, the first couple albums, yeah, those aren't easy listens. They take a while to get into. But from album 3 onwards, all masterpieces. Albums 1 and 2, they take a lot of digging, but eventually you find something to love. But yeah, Last Chance, it sure is a song. Hey, speaking of songs, next up on the list is Wall of Sound. I mean, The Devil Is Me. Hey, it's the same song, except this one's about demons.
Except way better.
I mean, yeah, it is better. I put it 1 point higher.
Right.
You know, Steve, the most Christian member of the panel, is like, well, I like the Satan songs because they make me feel edgy.
What? I mean, no, I like this particular Satan song because it speaks to the stupid asshole Gene part of my psyche. Like, why are there 2 bass lines, Gene? What the hell are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. That's a ridiculous decision. You know what? On second thought, do it. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Have your 2 bass lines. I almost ranked this one first. In retrospect, I'm glad that it landed, that I put it second. But yeah.
Did Steve end up putting the right song at first place?
No,
Hell
he
to the
didn't.
no.
we won't get to that.
But yeah, I'm just excited about dumbass Gene engineering decisions. Like, yeah, well, let's have a distorted bass and a clean bass, and they'll just sort of interweave with each other because that's a sensible thing for a producer to do.
Yeah, I mean,
clearly nobody else appreciates this genius decision by the best songwriter of Kiss when he's not writing Kiss songs.
I mean, it's not the worst decision Gene's ever made in the band.
No,
I mean,
that's
it's probably
true.
not the worst decision that he made on this album. If we go back and listen to it again, there are probably
Yeah,
worse
probably.
decisions.
yeah, I mean, I think this is goofy production aside. I think it actually does have better dynamics than Wall of Sound. I think part of that is the production. I think it's a little bit more. I think the riff is slightly more staccato. I'd have to A/B them, but there's the slight difference, and I think a slightly stronger melody. That even though this lyrically is so forced, I just think it's just a hair better written musically, and so that's why I'm like, yeah, this is better. Like, I shouldn't like this song. I should think it's formulaic and boring, but I'm having fun with it. So yeah, Devil Is Me, it's fine. Thumbs up. Mike, you don't like the Evil Gene songs. This is an Evil Gene song. You didn't like it.
I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I did have it near the bottom. And it's kind of funny because I just mentioned, like, lyrics aren't important to me. And yet, I think it's cool that, I don't know, the lyrics at least were interesting to me on this song. And to use a classic Mike Walsh Kiss podcast cliche, I love those horny Gene songs. And yet I also appreciate when he does something different, and you get something different with this one. Even though it's also him being like, yeah, I need an evil song for the album. I just think it's interesting, and it's kind of, I want to use the word reflective, but there's a better word. I just can't think of one right now. But it's some, I don't know, it just makes me think, and I appreciate that. So yeah, Mike Walsh doesn't always care about lyrical content, but sometimes does.
Billy, how is the lyrical content working for you on this song?
You know, it's funny. I was looking at my my rankings. I didn't even realize that I put this and Wall of Sound right next to each other, and now I get it. Now I know why. Look, if Kiss isn't afraid to recycle shit, then neither am I. So whatever I said for Wall of Sound probably applies to this too. I can't remember what I said. It's fine. It's good. It's a Demon song. Gotta have one. Check it off the list. Not a bad one.
That is brave podcast, and I love it. Copy and paste, which we actually did on. I think one of the episodes I copied over Steve's commentary from a previous episode. Like, whatever I said that episode, fly it in, and then we
just go back,
did.
find whatever I said about Wall of Sound. It probably is in the same ballpark.
Jamie, do you have the same commentary as this on Wall of Sound?
No, because I think I like this one more. Maybe I didn't. I can't remember my ranking. All I remember is that I wish they'd turned the drums up, because whatever Eric's doing in that verse is really cool, and it isn't loud enough. But yeah, the song's fine. I don't resonate very well with kind of more modern Gene Demon songs, because I've seen him live and he looks like he's having far too much fun to be kind of, the devil incarnate. He's loving it up there. You're not the demon anymore, Gene. You haven't been the demon since 1975. Stop spitting blood.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, what would feel more sincere on stage? Seeing Gene spit blood or Gene eat a jelly donut on stage? Like, which one do you think feels more, like, true to Gene's nature at this point?
It's
like,
the jelly donut, and I'd cheer.
Yeah, I would cheer. If I just saw Gene just, like, get out the big tongue, just lick a jelly donut, I'd be like, yes. I'll buy tickets for another end of the road show for that. Be the first thing I do after the quarantine breaks. But yeah, any other comments on The Devil Is Me before we move on? Well, hey, speaking of jelly donuts, next up is Eat Your Heart Out. It's probably not about a jelly donut. Although,
that is not about a jelly donut.
So, Steve, what do you think this song's about, buddy? Is this Lick It Up too?
I feel like this one's a little bit more flagrant about the subject material than Lick It Up. Also, I think this one changes perspective, right? Lick It Up is, I want my penis to touch your tongue. This one's very much, I want my tongue to touch your genitals, ma'am.
A very polite way of putting it.
To put it more polite, like, this album is, like, way more explicit about its horny lyrics than most other Kiss albums.
That's why it's a masterpiece in many respects.
It's a master something.
Eat Your Heart Out. My general thoughts on this one. I love the beginning, just that a cappella harmonized intro. It sounds like the guys are having fun. It sounds like Eric says yeah in that little intro. So it's just like them having a goof, having fun. And musically, it kind of is like a mixture of like Free and CCR, but done by Kiss with this production, which just makes it a really weird, goofy song, but that makes it unique and fun. And so I just like that it's this weird anomaly in the catalog where it kind of even like harkens back to Hotter Than Hell with you know, like All the Way. Kind of has that vibe. So it's just this fun, goofy, bouncy song, and like it just feels like Gene just shoved it out and didn't think about it much, but it was fun and it works for me. So yeah, thumbs up.
I like that All the Way connection. I never would have thought of that, but you're not wrong. That's very interesting to me. That's cool. Yeah, I ranked it really high. I've always really liked the song since it came out. It sounds like fun. You got that cool acapella intro. I actually always thought it was Paul doing the yeah, but well, there's actually two yeahs, and there's like the excited yeah, and then there's like the very chill stoner yeah. So I don't know which yeah we're talking about, but I like both of them. And it's just a good mix of song for me. There's fun elements to it. There's it's just really cool. It's pretty catchy. It put a big smile on my face. It does. It just sounds like my favorite band in 2012 on what at the time was their last album, and 8 years later, even more seems like their last album. Just enjoying themselves, and that makes me happy.
Now, Billy, you ranked this the lowest of the panel. What are your thoughts on this one?
It rhymes. That's nice. They put some effort into that. I have nothing really to say about it other than I don't like it. I just don't. I don't really know why. I hate the beginning. The beginning bothers me. Ooh, look, backstage fly on the wall as they warm up. Eat Your Heart Out. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. I don't like it. How's that for great content? It's dumb and I don't like it.
I mean, you know, it's probably. I also will always have a soft spot for a cappella. Like, you know, in high school I had some buddies in a traveling a cappella band, and I just learned to appreciate that style of music. So like, oh, Kiss is doing a fun little a cappella thing. That's cute. And I know cute isn't what people necessarily want to think of when they think of Kiss. So, Steve, you didn't have any friends in a traveling a cappella band, so you also didn't like this. General thoughts
I
on
am
Eat Your
friends
Heart Out.
with the 14th best whistler in the world, maybe 17th, I forget. I hung out with a cappella kids in college all the time.
They were so excited, always trying to get you to go to their shows.
Right? I mean, no, not very often, but, you know, Sam Knowlton, if you're listening, you kick ass. I like your pop music. I've never listened to your whistling. Anyway.
Eat Your Heart Out, aside from the acapella intro.
I mean, I had totally forgotten that the acapella intro had happened between listening to this album and now. So I put this towards the bottom. I feel like it's a pretty blunt version of what Gene has been doing all along. It's just like a slightly grosser and blunter Gene sex song than normal. Not really my bag.
And Jamie, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I love that a cappella start, and I like the way it kicks in. It's always ever reminded me a little bit of Dr. Love, with the kind of slow cowbell groove, and I really dig that song. So
There's a lot of cowbell on this album.
Yeah, more cowbell, more. But how many times has Gene used the expression "backbone slip" in a lyric?
Oh, too many times. Too many times to count.
It's just like Gene's go-to. Yeah, too many. But yeah, it's a fine song. One of the better songs on the album.
Thanks for listening to the Lipstick Panel, hosted by Lipstick Generation. Lipstick Generation's music can be found on all major streaming platforms and at lipstickgeneration.com. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your ranking of the subject in the comments down below. Feel free to leave us an episode suggestion also. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, please leave a review and tell a friend about our show. Thanks and rock on!